Just how concerned are you about the issues right now? We've talked about this many times before, Daryl, right here on this program, given this, I suppose, this increase that we're seeing in rhetoric.
Well, basically, it's a question of really who blinks first, right? Because it does appear that both sides need to secure certain wins. President Trump ahead of the November midterms, and President Xi cannot be seen to be weak. So effectively, whatever President Trump does decide to implement, China has basically reaffirmed that they will be reacting in kind. So obviously, the big question here is that if President Trump does escalate the matter and impose tariffs on that 400 billion additional goods and services, then what can China do? Because they only probably import probably about 130 billion goods and services from the US. So then it's going to be something like off. Maybe something relating to tourism, Chinese tourism to the US, for example, or some other measures that might impact US companies who are operating in China. So the big question mark is that, you know, how far will this go? And I think something that's more concerning to me is whether this would obviously impact companies' capital expenditure plans moving forward.
Of course it would, right?
Yeah, because just talking to friends, this is anecdotal evidence, talking to friends who are involved in supply chains across the world, they said global supply chains are now a huge mess. Because now, when you want to ship goods from one place to another, talk about airplane parts, for example, you actually have to trace where does your part come from. Now, whereas in the past, it didn't really matter. But now, moving forward, if you had a shortage of a particular part and you see that, oh, it's made in China, for example, or made in the US, then that could be an implication in terms of basically messing up your supply chain.
Daryl, Martin's got a question for you. Martin, come on in.
Yep, Daryl, good morning. Great to see you. So far, we've been talking about tariffs and goods. What do you think the likelihood is that China could target the services side? Because while the U.S. runs a significant trade deficit in goods, it runs a huge surplus in terms of services with China.
Yeah, that was the point I was making about potentially targeting Chinese tourists, for example. There's something like 3 million Chinese tourists that go to the US every year versus like 1 million in return in terms of American tourists that go to China. And obviously education, for example, is a huge business. A lot of Chinese study in the US, for example. So there are a lot of other measures that China potentially could enact to hurt American profits and American businesses. So the big question mark is obviously which industries are going to be targeted. That's why there's so much uncertainty in the marketplace today, because nobody really knows what sectors, which companies will suffer, and that's why we see a huge sell-off in a lot of the Chinese names, for example.
Still watching? Perfect. Click here to watch another great video from CNBC International. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.